Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to the Hangout session for the MOOCs. This is the Hands-on MOOC week 2, and we are going to have a short session to review what we have done this week, and also quickly go over what we will do next week. Thanks for joining in, and we also have a special guest today, is Dimitra from EA, and she is coordinating and facilitating the Greek forum. You know that there are many participants from Greece doing this MOOC, and we have created a specific forum so that they can chat in their own language. And also I wanted to mention that last week 123 of you got the first batch of the MOOC. So congratulations and keep working. You're really doing an amazing job. So Dimitra, do you want to tell us a little bit how is it going on the Greek forum and how are the participants doing?
Hello from Greece, can you hear me? Hello? Hello again?
Yes, now it's better.
Better now?
Yes.
Hello from Greece. I am Dimitrakopoulou. Due to the fact that we have so many participants in Greece, I would like to say, if you don't mind, hello in Greek too. Γεια σας. Όπως από εσάς έχουμε μιλήσει μέσω μηνυμάτων. Θα ήθελα να σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ για τη συμμετοχή σας και να σας ευχηθώ καλή συνέχεια στην προσπάθειά σας. So, you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay. Due to the fact that we have so many participants from Greece, we thought that it would be a good idea to give you the opportunity to exchange ideas and share experiences in Greek. And indeed, as we see from the previous week, this Greek forum proved to be very useful. Very important from this it's very important to be able to collaborate and exchange ideas in your own language, because this way you have the courage to carry on when in difficult tasks. That's all for me. Thank you very much again for your participation.
Thank you, Dimitra, and thank you for animating the forum in Greek. There are so many participants and you are all doing a great job. So this week we are working on week 2 on the investigation part. We have introduced you to the personas concept. The idea is that you create archetypes, so they are not real persons, they are not real people, but groups of people that represent a type of behavior or a way of being in class or something that you want to express. And then we're working on the content and finally on the objective of the copyright-based learning activity. So I see that Yeshai has joined in. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. I apologize that I'm a bit technically challenged today. So I have actually, if you see, I have an iPad and 2 computers here. I can't really get on from any one of them, so I'm actually calling in from my phone. So I apologize that the quality might be a bit lower, and also I won't be able to share any screens, which is a shame because I thought it would be nice to kind of look at some of the work that some of the participants have been doing. I think it's actually quite amazing to see the amount and the quality of work that people are doing, and really there's so much of it that obviously we can only sample it, but because we can't really look at every persona or every context description that each one of you has done. But what we see is really very impressive. So and also the feedback we get on the forum seems to suggest that people are finding these activities helpful. So, perhaps, for instance, the personas. And yeah, the idea about the persona is really when when you start designing a learning activity, to have before your eyes an image of the person you're designing for. So this idea of persona that actually originates in HCI, human computer interfaces, and you can say a bit about that as well. But the idea is, again, that you design for someone, because if you're not designing for someone, you're designing for no one. So you design for someone. So if you have an idea of your student who's going to actually go through this activity, then you're thinking about him or her, and not about the content or the ideas that you want to get across, but how you get that person from where he is now to where you'd like him to be. So that was the kind of the purpose of the personas activity. Now, once you've come up with 2 or 3 personas, so that might be 2 or 3 personas that you've created, or you might say, okay, this is my persona, but looking at what other people have done, I see there are other personas that I can relate to. And I think it's very important that you look at other people's personas and see which ones you're related to, that you find appealing. So that's why I also I started a thread just today on the forum asking who are your favorites. Asking you to kind of go and look at the personas and the context description that others have created, and see which ones you feel are sort of similar to your students or to what you have in mind, and see which ones you like because you think they capture a sort of an important aspect of the learners or the context in which they're learning, right? So after we went through the identifying several personas, the next bit is to actually get a description of the context. And by context, we mean anything that all the factors that determine what is possible, what isn't possible, that affect the way that your learners behave, interact, affect maybe their desires or their concerns and the things that there are barriers for them and so on. So the context really kind of looks sort of around the personas and between them. For instance, if your classroom doesn't have an interactive whiteboard, then obviously there's no point in designing activities that rely on interactive whiteboard. But if all your students have mobile phones, then you might be able to design an activity that relies on mobile phone. On the other hand, if your students say they have a room of their own and they have a desktop in their room, then you can give them homework that relies on that. If they share a room with 5 brothers and sisters and they're the lowest in the pecking order and they can't have access to a computer, then obviously you can't rely on that. So those are all that's just kind of the technical aspects of the context. But there are other, and I saw some very interesting stories about family relations and the kind of influence that family members have on the learner, friends, general culture. All these factors really determine your problem space and also your possible solution space. And we kind of made I think a slight reference to Rose Lukin's work on what's called ecology of resources. So that's sort of an approach to design that's completely focused on looking at the context and understanding and actually seeing the whole act of learning design as a way of reconfiguring this context. So in effect, you're not even, in a way, you're not really introducing anything new, just kind of rearranging the resources that are already there, already available to the learner. So that's one way that we can look at design as well. So, and like I said, I think some of you, at least the ones I've seen, have done really interesting work in terms of the say descriptions of factors and concerns, or any other way that you've chosen to describe the context. So the idea was that after you have those personas in mind, and after you have an image of the context, you go back to your dream, and then you rephrase that dream really with those parameters in mind. So if you said, well, I want my students to use social media to support their learning, now it's I want Alex, who's my persona, to use Facebook on his phone, because you know that Alex uses Facebook on his phone to support his learning. I want I want him to maybe find a way of connecting his love of football with his physics or mathematics studies or English studies, because so it really kind of takes your dream, which was quite vague and general, and really putting it, rephrasing it in a very specific and concrete terms that directly derived from the personas and the context that you've described. Now, I know that a lot of people have been struggling with this, and this sort of they've been producing the personas and writing up the context, but then maybe finding it hard to link that back to their dream and to actually use those as sort of stepping stones in the design process. So I don't know if maybe, Dimitra, maybe you want to share some of the feedback that you have from the participants, and kind of what are the sort of impressions that you're getting from people from these activities.
Hi, Dimitra, you're mute. We cannot hear you. Your micro is muted.
Now?
Okay, now yes, we can hear you now.
I can understand from the form that Greek people are really exciting about this, but sometimes they get confused, and they are trying really hard to understand. But in general terms, they think that they can carry on the activity.
Thanks, Dimitra. So I think that what Jim is going to do is to show us a little bit some examples, and I think it will help, after your explanation, Yisha, it will help also participants to understand what's this task, the activities for this week, and some examples of personas and context, and that will give us also some more information on how to get on this work. So Gemma, if you want to go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I wanted to share with you some of the personas that you have made. We have a lot of different typologies of personas. For example, I'll try to share them with you. Okay. For example, here you can see an explorer. He is a male, and he is a teacher. So here the persona is not a teenager or a primary school student that we've seen that the most are this kind of typology. But here is a teacher. He is a teacher in primary school or secondary education, and he likes to help people to develop skills, for example. But we have other kind of type of personas. Here you can see Maria, that is 13, and she is in second grade of junior high education, and she has she's good in all subjects, but she doesn't cooperate well with others. So these are some characteristics of this student. Another persona is Jenny, for example. She has just finished school, the secondary education, and he is unemployed but would like to make her own art exhibition. So these are very different profiles of students. I want to show you another persona. As you see, we have a lot of female personas, but also we have male, but the most of them are female here. Christine, she is in primary school and she takes care of her dogs, for example. She likes music and dancing, and well, she's learning German in this case. We have a lot of persona also that is learning languages. I don't know if you've seen the dreams, and a lot of dreams are related with language teaching and learning. About the context, I have to say that we don't have so many context as personas, so I encourage you to go on to the activity of the description of the factors, because it is very important. Sorry, I wanted to show you this. I think it's very important to concrete the factors, the factors and concern, because as Giselle has said, it can help you to concrete your dream, because it makes you to know better your personas. Here, for example, in this card, in this description of the factors, you can see that there's a description of the family, the school, the environment of the village, and the environment of the town. These factors can help you to know better who this person is. Here, another context card that is similar to the other. So I encourage you to go through this card and concrete all these aspects. I want to remember you also that you can comment all the personas cards and also the analysis context, going to your ILDE and accessing to the info and comments. You can see here this area where you can put a comment to in this case, to case analysis context. I encourage you again to go to the comments, because it's a very good way to make others improve their personas or the definition of the context. And that's all.
Thank you, Jem. I think I will insist on this and invite people that have doubts about how to do this persona, and also how to do the context analysis, to go through the ILDE and look at other people's personas. What's mute? And because it really helps to go through what the examples and personas and context analysis that other participants can do. And while you're doing that, reviewing what they've done, and that will help you both learn about how to do it yourself, and also on commenting them and making their designs better. So I'm going to go to the Q&A. There is Anastasia who is asking that she won't be able to do the activities this week. So no problem, you can complete them next week. You can do the course at your own pace, but we invite you to follow the course just because you will be part of the forum discussions. But if you can do them next week, there's no problem. Also, there is a question about which course we are doing right now. That's the Learning Design Studio. There is also another course open that it's how to use ICT tools, but this is a self-study course. We're not going to offer facilitation on it. It's just in case it can help you follow this Learning Design Studio course. And also I'm going to jump to the next week's activities, because there is a question about activity 13. So before I go to that activity, let me quickly go through the activities that we will do next week. Next week is about inspiring an ideation. Once you have reviewed your dream, this is activity 10. So once you have reviewed your dream, taking into account your personas, their context, and also reviewing the objectives of your ICT-based learning activity, then next week we'll start looking for ICT-based learning activities. So doing a competitive analysis or a benchmarking, as we call it, looking at other activities and other examples of people doing this work can help you inform your designs and also learn from others. Once you have all this work done, then we will move to activity 13, which is define the heuristics of your design project. From what you said, yes, I'm gonna share my screen, and then, okay, now, yes. So the activity 13, okay. Activity 13 is about heuristics. Heuristics are principles. So the classic heuristics that we use for software design, for interface design, and these are, I've put the most famous heuristics, which are usability heuristics, which is principles that you need to remember when designing an interface or a functionality. You want it to be easy to use and easy to remember. Ya voy a compartir. So these are examples of these heuristics. This is visibility of system status. I think you will all recognize that it's when you're using a computer, it's good to know what's happening. It's good that what you see on the computer matches what you see in the real world. It's good that a computer and a software also lets you control and have enough freedom to do what you want. It's good to do error prevention. So you need to design to avoid error prevention. In the case of a learning activity, for example, you need to consider what may happen if a student gets stuck or gets lost in doing the activity. By preventing this error, for example, you will design your activity better. I don't know if Isha, you want to comment on these heuristics as well regarding this question. We don't hear you. We cannot hear you, Yeshai. Now, yes. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Now, yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So heuristics are part of heuristic evaluation is what they call a low fidelity evaluation method. So the idea is that any activity that you design, or anything that you design for that matter, you want to know if it actually achieves its objective. So today, this week you've been developing your personas, and then you went and specified your objectives, right? Now you want to see if actually the activity that you design really allows these people to reach these objectives. So, if you say that your objective is that your students will become rocket scientists, then you need some way of evaluating if the activity that you designed will really allow them to become rocket scientists. Now, to do kind of the complete evaluation or the ultimate evaluation of an activity is actually running the activity and collecting data. But that's obviously very expensive. I mean, that means that you actually need to try this, develop all the materials, try the activity in the classroom, collect data and evaluate it. And if you realize that you've made a small mistake then it's too late to correct it. So the idea about the heuristic evaluation is that you have some quick and simple rules that allow you to evaluate something in the early design phases, so that you say, for instance, I want this activity to be available to students even if they have difficulties in reading English, right? And then you look at the text of the activity and you see, well, actually the text here is too complicated, so it's not suitable for students who have difficulties with English. So you set up these set of rules that allow you to evaluate your design as you go along. And that's the idea of heuristic evaluation. Now, in activity, I think it's activity 12. There's also some examples of evaluation criteria or criteria from the learning designer, right? And you can even see it. So these are criteria could also be seen as sort of a set of heuristics. For instance, is there a produce activity? So whenever you design, do you actually get students to produce something that you can use it to test whether the outcomes were met, right? That's a very simple rule that you can use to check any learning design and see if it has that feature or not. So that's the idea. Really, next week is that when you start the design, you start by saying, how am I going to evaluate my design? How am I going to know if I succeeded in what I wanted to achieve? And that's why we said that you define the heuristics even before you actually go into the ideation and prototyping.
Okay. Thank you, Ishai. I think that we will also address some of these questions on the Moodle and on the forum for week 3. So I'm sure we will all have doubts and questions about this. So once you have reviewed other existing ICT-based learning activities, you will do the heuristics, which is the kind of principles that will help you evaluate your design activity. And then we will move into the ideation and prototyping phase. First, we will you will learn about user scenarios. This is a way of also identifying the context of the user, and with these user scenarios, you will also choose an ICT tool for your activity. And then the actual activity of prototyping is activity 15, where you will ideate your own user scenario. And we will also have a convergence session next week to cover all the issues for next week. Don't remember to check on the completion for this week's activity so that you get the second batch, and you keep doing this great work and amazing contributions you're doing on the Moodle. I don't know if I want to ask if we can have some more time to study and to work for the activities better. Yes, Vasiliki, you can do it on your own. It's really a self-paced course, so you can do the activities whenever you want and spend as much time as you want. The only suggestion we would do is that if you follow the pace of the course, that will have you follow the forums and see what's going on. But if you have seen on the Moodle, there are many people already moving ahead for next week's activities and people that are still working on their streams. So you can do whatever is best. And Yeshai, we have a question for you. Sophia is asking if you can give us another example for activity 13, which is the heuristics evaluation. Oh, okay. Not hear you now. Can you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now yes.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. What we'll add a link to a document which has a big set of heuristics, and these are heuristics that are specifically designed for learning activities. So we'll add those, in activity 13, we'll just add those links. And so you can see all there's actually 3 or 4 sets of heuristics that were developed by different projects that you can actually choose from them. And in a way you have those, so if you actually look at the, in the ILD, if you click new LDS and heuristic evaluation, you will get those examples of heuristics. So rather than invent your own, you can start by choosing the ones that are already there in the template that you think are relevant for your project. And then you can decide that you might want to add some more on top of those.
Yes, thank you. I think that what is it? Sophia, we understand that this activity is difficult, but as Yeshai was saying, we will provide more feedback and more data on this activity on the Moodle, so that you can read that different documents and get a better idea of what heuristics are. And yes, we have another question about having the convergence sessions on Fridays. So I think that next week is going to be on Friday, like last week. So the idea was to have them all on Friday at 3 p.m. Barcelona time, so 4 in Greece. I don't know if you have any more questions. Then we will leave it here. I don't know. Question from the Moodle chat. What if we don't know how much about our students? I think we don't have, or it is impossible sometimes to have the information you want us to get. Well, so what I think that I can answer this question by going to Slavi's response on the Moodle. He was saying that normally personas are based on real data, so you should get data to define your personas. But if you don't, you just try to imagine how they are and which are their needs. So I'm sure that if you're teaching a class and you have real students, you know a little bit about how they are and why they are doing this. So don't forget that it's better to design for someone than for no one at all. So imagine who your audience is going to be. Even if it's not the real one, it will help you design for someone at the end. And Maria has a question. What do we have to do in activity 12? I am not sure. I haven't understood. Oh, let me go to activity 12. So the idea for activity 12 is that you go online and look at different Compedia of learning activities, and you check for other learning activities that other people have already created and that can help you design your own. So this is that you go through the different options online and check of the different learning activities that other teachers and educators have created. So the idea of activity 12 is not as much creating something on your own, but going around and seeing what has been already created. I'm going to quickly go back to the questions and answers to see if there is another one. I want to ask you, yes. I think we have, yes. We have answered all the questions on the chat and on the Q&A. I don't know if Dimitra, you want to say goodbye. Gemma, Yeshai, do you want to add something before we close the session? And I will just quickly add that we will send you another week 1 survey, the week 2 survey. So please do fill in the week 1 survey and the week 2 survey. I don't know if anyone wants to add. Gemma, maybe no. Dimitra, do you want to say bye in Greek? In Greek? We don't hear you.
What about now?
Yes, now yes, we can hear you.
Καλό απόγευμα σε όλους.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Dimitra, for joining us and for facilitating the Greek forum. And we'll see you next week on the Hangouts, and we'll keep working on the forum and the Moodle. And thanks for all the great work. Bye.